Let's go over some of the features of Google Mail. It's pretty straight ahead, similar to a lot of other email platforms. You've got your inbox over here on the left, as well as a few other groups of emails that you can see. You can also move these around a little bit. So some of these are down here below a More screen. So if, for example, let's say you didn't want to see spam up here, you can move it down here and it'll live below the fold here in this when this More or Less toggle is open or closed. And certainly with any of the others, you can move anything up to where it is going to be visible. So I believe inbox always stays at the top, but you've got a number of options to set these up over here on the left. So let's dig into a specific email here first. So if you click on an email, it's going to open that email. And you've got a couple of options up here at the top. You can archive this, which basically takes the email out of the inbox, but it still exists in your account. So it's easy enough to search it, or you can put it into a folder to be able to easily find it later. And we'll dig into that in just a little bit. You can report the message as spam, which will mark the sender as spam. You can delete the message, which will put it into the trash can, and it'll be permanently deleted after 30 days. If you need to mark the message unread, you do this here, and it'll just take you right back to the inbox with this message left as unread. You can also snooze emails. So if you want something to come back and remind you a little bit later in the day or on another day, click that and it'll show up back in your inbox at the time you designate. You can also move the email to a folder, which does take it out of the inbox and puts it in a folder or a label. We'll go over that in a minute. And this option simply applies a label like this Lee's email, but it does not remove the item from the inbox. There's a few other options here. If you click on the three dots that are the menu, you can, some of them overlap. You can mark as unread, mark as not important, add to tasks, add a star, create an event from this email, filter messages like these, or mute this conversation. So we'll dig into some of those a little bit later, but that's the essence of what you can do with this email. You can also click here to reply, or click here to add a star, click here to reply. If you need to reply all, if it has multiple senders or forward, you'll also want to click on this menu over here, and it's got a number of other options here as well. So one of the most powerful tools of Google is the ability to search these emails. So these are not designed to stay in the inbox. If you've got something that you've already read, then you probably want to archive it or delete it. If it's something you think you'll need later, archiving it is probably the easiest way to do that. But it's still going to show up here in search. So there's a lot of really powerful search functions. The easiest way to become familiar with those is simply to click this caret here in the search bar, and it's going to give you a number of options. So if I wanted to find all emails that were sent from a specific person, and you don't have to type out their email exactly, if you just know segments or you just know their name, you can put that in here. Another great feature for that is has the words. So it doesn't have to be in their email address or the subject, just anywhere in the email. You can also search by doesn't have certain words, by the size of the email and or size of the attachment. You can search a date range, and you can also search all mail or specifically the inbox or any of these other areas that you designate. So typically searching all mail is probably the most common one. So once you've identified these criteria, you want to hit search, and that's going to pull up all the emails that are from this person. You'll also start to learn that it creates basically a search string here. That's a great way where ultimately, once you get familiar with these, you can even type them out. But for now, using this caret is a really powerful way to start to learn those or easily find them. So once you've identified these messages too, you can also select all or select specific messages, and then more of these options, same as the other screen, pop up. So those are also very easily accessible. So if you wanted to archive all the emails from a certain sender, you could do this to identify that sender and then select all the emails and hit archive. One other thing I want to go over while we're here in the search function, if this is something you're going to do often or something where you want to have a certain sender, a certain subject, or anything like that, not come into your inbox, but still be accessible, you can click this caret again. It's going to leave the same search criteria that you had before, but in this case, you're going to want to hit Create Filter. When you do that, it gives you a number of other options to skip the inbox, which again is going to automatically archive it. So it won't be in the inbox, but it'll still be visible. And we'll go over that in a second. But you have a number of other options here. I probably would mark it as read if it's something you still want to read. You just don't want it urgently in your inbox. You can also apply labels. I've already created a few, but you can also click here to create your own new label. And you can even nest labels. So if you wanted to have a client folder or filter, and then underneath that have a folder or filter for each client, this is how you would do that. You would nest the new label, Bob Smith, under the label clients. So I'm going to cancel that because I already have one. So I'm going to apply the label Lee's email. And there's a number of other options. These are pretty straightforward. You can also choose a category, which are those tabs at the top, which we'll go over in just a little bit as well. And once you have figured your criteria, there's another really powerful feature here to apply this filter to existing messages. So it's a great way if you've got, say, a bunch of emails from somebody or from somebody in your team that are just in your inbox and you want to get them just pulled into a folder. This is a great way to do that. So if you hit apply filter to one matching message and then hit create filter, it's going to go ahead and actually pull any email with those criteria that exists, as well as emails moving forward into, you can see over here on the left-hand side, now I've created this, now that we created this label or folder, it's going to show me only the emails in that folder. So not necessarily my full inbox, but specifically emails that have that label attached, whether they're still in the inbox or whether they're archived. So a really powerful feature to help you organize. One other great feature that was introduced in the last couple of years are these tabs here at the top. And you may or may not see them. Some of them were rolled out by default. If your account's newer, you may have them. If you don't see them or if you want to reorganize them, it's a really, really easy process. Come over here to the settings gear, click that, and then click configure inbox. So that's going to show you all the tabs that are available, and you can select or deselect any ones that you want. Google does a pretty good job of sorting these for you. I'll show you how you can teach it to sort specific emails to certain tabs as well. And another feature is having the starred messages included in the primary or the main inbox. I'm a big fan of this feature. You may have something that comes in as a promotion or an update that you want to keep on your radar in your inbox. So if you add a star to it, it'll show up in your inbox. When you remove the star, it'll go back to the tab that it belongs in. So once you have that right, hit save. That'll save your settings moving forward. In order to train this to do this, one of the things you can do is you can actually just drag this message into updates, and it's going to ask you down here, that conversation was moved to updates. Do you want to do this for future messages from this sender? And so I'm gonna click undo in this case, but yes would be what you would select if you wanted it to consistently put that sender in that specific tab. And now you can see that email's over here. And if you star it, as mentioned, now it's going to show back up in the primary inbox. And if I'm done with it and want it to go live back in the updates tab, I just need to unstar it and it should flow back into it, which it did. So a couple of really great tips to prioritize your emails and also to store emails that are alike that you may need to find later but don't need to be sitting in your inbox. So let's dig into settings just a little bit here and then we'll move on to another topic. So click on the gear and then settings. Most of the settings you're going to deal with are going to be in this general tab. There's a number of other features that we're not going to cover in this particular course. So you got some really good options here. So as far as how many conversations you want to view on each page. Undo send is a really powerful feature that essentially sends your sent message into a queue for this amount of time that you select here. So you've still got the opportunity to undo send if, for example, you forgot to reply all or if you forgot to attach something. This is a really great tool to be able to recall that message without it actually ever being sent, make any edits or change it to reply all, and then send again. You can also change or set your default reply behavior. I prefer reply instead of reply all. Some other options here that are really just personal preferences, so you can play around with these. Conversation view is a big one. Some people really like the conversation view where messages are stacked in a sense, meaning that when people reply or go back and forth, it's still just one line in the inbox. I personally am a bigger fan of conversation view off, so that each reply comes in as a new line or a new item. But again, just a personal preference, but this is where you set that. Some of these nudges and smart replies are really cool features that help Google either suggest content for you or remind you that if you haven't replied to an email that came in a while back, that you may want to take a look at it again. So the stars feature is a really great feature that I'm a really big fan of, and you can actually just drag these into use or out of use, and you can even reorder them. And I'll show you how that works. Basically, when you click on the star, it'll toggle you through in this order. So if you want to designate certain star colors or certain of these other items for specific types of emails, it can be another great way to either prioritize or just otherwise denote specific emails. So this is another great feature, create contacts for autocomplete. So when someone new emails you, if you have this setting on when I send a message to a new person, add them to other contacts, it's a great way to help build your contacts or build your database for people that you are emailing back and forth with. They're going to be automatically added to your other contacts, and that makes it real easy to add them to your primary contacts. So, and if you don't want that, you can just simply select I'll add contacts myself, and they won't be added at all. This is also where you would set up your email signature, and if you happen to have multiple accounts in here, you can have a separate signature for each account. It's really easy to do. If you had multiple accounts, there'd be a drop down here for which account this signature's for. And then last but not least, the vacation autoresponder. So you can set this on for specific dates, even in the future, and have your message here. And there's a quick option to only send this auto response to people saved in your contacts, or just to send it to everybody. So be sure when you're done with that, you hit Save Changes, and that will bring you right back into your email. So I do want to demonstrate the star real quick. There's a bunch of features in Gmail. I'd love to dig into all of them, but just wanted to cover the basics in this primer course. So as far as the stars go, as I mentioned, if you click on them, it'll actually toggle through in the order that you have put them in Drive. So you have to be a couple of seconds to do it, and then if you wait a couple of seconds, then you just simply click it again, then it'll remove the star altogether. But again, a great feature to really organize if you say, hey, maybe purple are personal things, or green are money things, or blue or work things, that you can easily designate these stars to help you better, yet again, organize the setup of your email. So that's the basics. There's obviously a lot of more things you can do with Google Mail, but we're going to leave it at that for now.